The medical bay of the GSS healing light buzzed with activity. Advanced alien doctors moved between patients with perfect precision. Their movements were cold, calculated, and efficient. This was the most advanced hospital ship in the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the entrance, holding her small medical bag. She looked tiny compared to the towering alien doctors around her. Her human uniform seemed simple and plain next to their shiny high-tech equipment. Is this some kind of joke? Dr. Kexton, a tall Zephyrian with 4 arms, stopped working. His multiple eyes focused on Sarah. They sent us a human? The other doctors turned to look. A crystalline healer made a sound that could only be described as laughter. The sound echoed through the medical bay like breaking glass. I heard humans think with their feelings, said Dr. Veltar, a slug-like gastropod. His voice was wet and dismissive. How can someone heal others when they cannot control their own emotions? Sarah took a deep breath. She had expected this reaction. Humans were new to the Galactic Medical Council. Most alien species saw them as primitive and weak. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, she said calmly. I'm here to help with the medical mission. Dr. Kexton's 4 arms crossed over his chest. Help? Little human, do you even know what real medicine looks like? He gestured toward a nearby patient. A wounded mantis warrior lay on the biobed. Machines beeped and flashed around him. This soldier has quantum poisoning. His cellular structure is breaking down at the molecular level. Our scanners show a 3.7% chance of survival. So you give up on him? Sarah asked, walking closer to the patient. We don't give up, Dr. Veltar said with disgust. We use logic. We focus our energy on patients who can actually be saved. It's called efficiency. Sarah looked at the mantis warrior. He was young, maybe barely an adult. His breathing was shallow and his skin had a strange blue tint. The machine showed his vital signs dropping slowly but steadily. What's his name? Sarah asked. The alien doctors looked at each other in confusion. His designation is Patient 47731, Dr. Kexton said. Why does his name matter? He will be dead within 6 hours. Sarah ignored the comment. She gently placed her hand on the warrior's arm. Hey there, soldier. Can you hear me? The mantis warrior's eyes fluttered open. They were filled with pain and fear. My name is Dr. Chen, Sarah said softly. I'm going to take care of you, okay? What's your name? Ziktar, the warrior whispered. That's a strong name, Ziktar. You're going to be fine. Dr. Kexton laughed harshly. Talking to a dying patient? This is your human medicine? Words and false hope? Hope isn't false, Sarah replied, checking Ziktar's pulse with her fingers. And pain management is just as important as treatment. She opened her simple medical bag and pulled out what looked like primitive tools. A basic stethoscope, some bandages, and small vials of medicine that seemed ancient compared to the alien technology. Those tools are thousands of years old, Dr. Veltar exclaimed. We have quantum scanners that can see inside every cell. Why would you use such basic equipment? Because sometimes the old ways work better, Sarah said. She listened to Ziktar's heart through her stethoscope. Your scanners show you numbers and data. This lets me hear what his body is actually telling me. The alien doctors watched in amazement as Sarah worked. She didn't rush. She didn't panic. Instead, she spoke quietly to Ziktar, explaining everything she was doing. The quantum poisoning is affecting his nervous system, she said, more to herself than to the others. But his heart is still strong. His body wants to fight. Impossible, Dr. Kexton said. Our scans show complete system failure approaching. Sarah smiled sadly. Your scans show what's happening now. They don't show what could happen with the right care. She injected Ziktar with something from one of her simple vials. Almost immediately, his breathing became easier. What did you give him? Dr. Veltar asked, suddenly interested. Basic pain relief and a mild stimulant, Sarah replied. Nothing fancy. Just something to make him comfortable and help his body remember how to fight. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed and an announcement echoed through the medical bay. All medical staff to emergency stations. Mass casualty event incoming. Repeat, mass casualty event incoming. Multiple ships heavily damaged. Wounded arriving in 15 minutes. The alien doctors immediately began preparing for the worst. Dr. Kexton looked at Sarah with his 4 eyes narrowed. Well, human, he said coldly. Let's see if your feelings can handle real medicine. We're about to receive casualties from a major space battle. No time for hand-holding and pretty words. Sarah stood up from Ziktar's bedside. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed a determination that made even the alien doctors pause. "Then let's get to work," she said simply. But as the first emergency shuttles approached the ship, nobody knew that this would be the day everything changed. The day the galaxy learned that human medicine wasn't just about healing bodies, it was about healing hope itself. The first emergency shuttle crashed into the medical bay's docking port with a loud bang. Smoke poured out as the doors opened. The smell of burned metal and something worse filled the air. "Move! Move! Move!" shouted the rescue team. Bodies were everywhere. Wounded soldiers from 3 different alien species lay on stretchers. Some were crying out in pain. Others were completely silent, which was somehow worse. Dr. Kexthan took charge immediately. His forearms moved like lightning, pointing at different patients. That one to bed 7, he might survive. That one to bed 12, simple repairs needed. And that one, he looked at a badly burned reptilian soldier. That one to the corner, nothing we can do. Sarah watched as the alien doctors worked with machine-like efficiency. They moved fast, scanning patients with their advanced equipment. But she noticed something strange. They only worked on patients their scanners said could be saved. Dr. Chen. Dr. Veltar called out, "Take the hopeless cases to the back room. Keep them comfortable while they die. That's about all your human medicine is good for anyway." Sarah looked at the soldiers being pushed aside. A young avian pilot with broken wings, an elderly mammalian engineer with severe burns, a reptilian warrior who was barely breathing. "No," Sarah said quietly. "Excuse me." Dr. Kexthan stopped working and stared at her. "I said no. These soldiers didn't give up fighting. I won't give up on them." Dr. Veltar made his wet, laughing sound again. "Human, look at the scans. That bird pilot has 99.7% chance of death. The engineer's organs are shutting down. The reptile's brain activity is almost 0. It's mathematically impossible to save them." Sarah knelt beside the avian pilot. His bright blue feathers were covered in blood. His breathing was weak and rapid. "What's your name, pilot?" she asked softly. The pilot's large eyes opened slightly. Sky Dancer," he whispered in pain. "That's a beautiful name, Sky Dancer. You're hurt pretty bad, but I'm not giving up on you. Okay?" She began working with her simple tools. The alien doctors shook their heads and continued with their own patients. "Sky Dancer, I need you to stay with me," Sarah said as she checked his injuries. "Tell me about flying. What's it like up there in space?" It's like dancing with the stars," Sky Dancer whispered. While she talked, Sarah's hands moved carefully over his wounds. She couldn't fix his broken wings with surgery, not yet, but she could stop the bleeding. She could manage his pain. She could give him a reason to keep fighting. "The stars want you back up there, Sky Dancer. So you need to get better, okay?" Next, she moved to the burned engineer. His name was Cogwright, and he kept apologizing for failing his ship. Sarah cleaned his burns and gave him medicine for the pain. More importantly, she told him he was a hero for getting his crew to safety. The reptilian warrior was the worst case. His name was Stone Scale, and he was barely alive. Dr. Kexthan had written him off completely. "Stone Scale, can you hear me?" Sarah asked, holding his cold hand. There was no response. The alien doctor's scanners showed almost no brain activity. But Sarah noticed something they missed. His hand squeezed back just slightly. "I know you're in there, warrior," she said. "Your body is tired, but your spirit isn't ready to quit yet." Hours passed. Sarah worked without stopping. She used techniques the aliens had never seen before. She talked to each patient, learning their names, their families, their dreams. She treated them like people, not just medical problems. The alien doctors watched with growing confusion. Their advanced patients were recovering normally, exactly as their computers predicted. But Sarah's hopeless cases were doing something impossible. They were getting better. Sky Dancer's breathing became stronger. Cogwright's burn started healing faster than expected. Stone Scale's eyes opened, and he spoke his first words in hours. "How is this possible?" Dr. Kexthan demanded. "Our scanners showed they should be dead." Sarah looked up from Stone Scale's bedside. She was exhausted, covered in blood and sweat, but her eyes were bright with hope. "Maybe your scanners don't measure everything," she said. "Maybe they can't see how much these soldiers want to live, how much they have to fight for." Dr. Veltar slithered over to check Stonescale's readings. His vital signs are improving. This makes no scientific sense. It makes perfect sense, Sarah replied. You treat bodies, I treat people. When people know someone believes in them, they fight harder. More shuttles arrived with more wounded. The alien doctors found themselves overwhelmed. Their efficient system worked great for normal cases, but this battle had produced injuries they'd never seen before. Dr. Chen, Dr. Kexthan called out, and for the first time he sounded desperate instead of arrogant. We have 17 critical cases. Our computers say only 3 can be saved. We don't know what to do. Sarah stood up slowly. Her legs shook from exhaustion, but her voice was steady. Then maybe it's time to try something new, she said. But as she walked toward the new casualties, something was wrong. Sarah's vision started to blur. She had been working for 18 straight hours without rest, food, or water. She took one more step toward a wounded soldier who was calling for help. Then everything went black. Sarah collapsed to the floor, unconscious from complete exhaustion. The alien doctors stared in shock as the human who had performed miracles fell silent and still, and in the background, more emergency shuttles approached. The worst casualties were still coming. Without Sarah, would any of the hopeless patients survive the night? Sarah's eyes opened slowly. The first thing she saw was Dr. Kexthan's worried face looking down at her. His forearms held a medical scanner that beeped softly. How long was I out? Sarah asked, trying to sit up. 4 hours, Dr. Kexthan replied. His voice was different now, less arrogant, more concerned. Your body shut down from exhaustion. We gave you nutrients and stimulants, but you should rest more. Sarah looked around the medical bay. Something was wrong. The lights were dimmer than before, and she could hear a strange humming sound in the background. Where are the new patients? She asked. Dr. Veltar slithered over, his wet voice unusually quiet. We tried to help them using your methods. We talked to them, learned their names, but 7 died while you were unconscious. We don't understand how you made it work. Sarah felt a cold weight in her chest. 7 soldiers had died because she collapsed. She started to get up from the medical bed. Dr. Chen, you need more rest, Dr. Kexthan said firmly. I need to check on my patients, Sarah replied. Standing on shaky legs, she walked over to Skydancer, the avian pilot. He was awake and his breathing was much stronger. When he saw her, his large eyes brightened. Dr. Chen, they told me you saved my life. How can I ever thank you? Just get better and fly again, Sarah smiled, checking his wing splints. The stars are waiting for you. Next was Cogwright, the burned engineer. His wounds were healing remarkably well. Doc, I heard you collapsed taking care of us. You shouldn't have pushed yourself so hard. Taking care of patients is what doctors do, Sarah said simply. But when she reached Stonescale's bed, her heart sank. The reptilian warrior was unconscious again, and his vital signs were dropping. He started getting worse about an hour ago, Dr. Kexthan explained. We think the trauma was too severe. Even your methods couldn't overcome the damage. Sarah sat beside Stonescale and took his cold hand. Stonescale, can you hear me? Your family needs you to keep fighting. There was no response. Suddenly the ship shuddered violently. Emergency lights began flashing red, and alarms blared throughout the medical bay. Attention all personnel, announced the ship's AI. We are under attack. Enemy fighters have breached our defense perimeter. All non-essential systems switching to emergency power. The main lights went out. Only the red emergency lighting remained, casting everything in an eerie crimson glow. Most of the advanced medical equipment shut down to save power. No, Dr. Veltar cried out. Without our scanners and machines, we're working blind. Another violent shake threw Sarah against Stonescale's bed. Through the medical bay's windows, she could see laser fire and explosions lighting up space. How many critical patients do we have? Sarah asked, steadying herself. 12, Dr. Kexthan replied, his forearms gripping a support beam. 3 need immediate surgery or they'll die within the hour. Then we operate, Sarah said calmly. Are you insane? Dr. Veltar shouted over another explosion. We have no power, no scanners, no precision tools. It's impossible. Sarah looked around the darkened medical bay. Her 3 hopeless patients from before were watching her with hope in their eyes. Skydancer tried to sit up despite his broken wings. Cogwright reached out to squeeze her hand. Even Stonescale's fingers twitched slightly. Skydancer, Sarah called out. Can you help me move some equipment? Doctor, I can't fly, but I can still use my arms, the pilot replied immediately. Cogwright, I need you to organize supplies in the dark. Can you do that? I've worked in dark engine rooms my whole life, Doc. Consider it done. And Stonescale. Sarah leaned close to the warrior's ear. I need you to wake up. These new patients need someone to show them how to fight. Stonescale's eyes opened slightly. What? What do you need me to do? Dr. Kexton stared in amazement. This is impossible. You're organizing surgery using wounded patients as assistants in the dark during a battle. The ship shook again, even more violently. Through the windows, Sarah could see an enemy fighter approaching fast. Dr. Chen. Dr. Veltar's wet voice was full of panic. The surgery room is on the outer hull. If we operate there during this attack, we could all be killed. Sarah looked at the 3 critical patients who would die without immediate surgery. Then she looked at the enemy ships outside, firing at their medical vessel. The next explosion was so close that the windows cracked. Debris bounced off the hull with loud banging sounds. We have a choice, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the chaos. We can hide and let these soldiers die safely, or we can risk everything to save them. Dr. Kexton's 4 eyes met hers. For the first time since she arrived, she saw respect in his gaze. What do you need us to do, Dr. Chen? Sarah smiled grimly as another explosion lit up the darkness outside. We're going to perform surgery in a war zone, and we're going to save every single one of them. But as they prepared to move the critical patients, a massive enemy warship appeared outside the medical bay windows. Its weapons were charging, aimed directly at their position. The ship's AI announced, "Critical alert. Enemy dreadnought targeting medical bay. Impact in 30 seconds." Sarah looked at the 3 dying patients, then at the massive enemy ship preparing to fire. 30 seconds to choose between saving 3 lives and saving everyone on the ship. What could one human doctor possibly do against a dreadnought? 20 seconds to impact. The ship's AI announced. Sarah looked at the 3 critical patients who would die without surgery. Then she looked at the enemy dreadnought charging its massive weapons outside the window. Everyone out of the medical bay now. Dr. Kexton shouted, his forearms already moving toward the exit. No, Sarah said firmly. We don't abandon patients. Dr. Chen, be reasonable. Dr. Veltar cried. That ship will destroy this entire section. 15 seconds to impact. Sarah grabbed a portable surgical kit and rushed to the first critical patient, a young crystalline soldier with internal bleeding. Skydancer, I need light. The injured avian pilot used his good wing to aim a small emergency light at the patient. I've got you covered, Doc. 10 seconds. Sarah's hands moved with impossible speed, making an incision in the crystalline's torso. Cogwright, clamp. The burned engineer handed her the tool, despite his own injuries. Here, 5 seconds. Dr. Kexton and Dr. Veltar watched in amazement as Sarah worked calmly, ignoring the approaching destruction. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice stayed steady. Stonescale, pressure on the wound, Sarah ordered. The barely conscious reptilian warrior pressed his clawed hand exactly where she indicated. 3, 2, 1. The dreadnought fired. But instead of destroying the medical bay, something incredible happened. The massive energy beam passed harmlessly around the ship, creating a protective shield of light. What just happened? Dr. Veltar asked in confusion. Through the window they could see other ships, human ships, surrounding the enemy dreadnought. Earth's medical rescue fleet had arrived, led by Captain Torres of the UHMS Mercy. This is Captain Torres to all enemy vessels, came a voice over the communications. You are attacking a hospital ship. Stand down immediately or face the consequences. Sarah continued working, not even looking up at the space battle outside. She sealed the crystalline soldier's internal bleeding and moved to the next patient. How did you know? Dr. Kexton asked in wonder. How did you know to keep working? I didn't know, Sarah replied, starting surgery on an injured mammalian. I just know that doctors don't give up on patients, ever. The enemy dreadnought tried to retreat, but human ships surrounded it completely. The voice of Captain Torres came through again. You targeted medical personnel. In human culture, that means we're going to have a very serious conversation. Within minutes, the enemy ships surrendered. They had never faced humans in combat before, and were not prepared for the fury of a species protecting their healers. Sarah finished the second surgery and moved to the third patient. Her hands were steady, her focus complete. Around her, the alien doctors watched in silent amazement. "Stone Scale, how are you feeling?" Sarah asked as she worked. "Better, doctor," the warrior replied. His voice was stronger now. "Watching you work, it makes me want to fight harder." Dr. Kexthan stepped forward. "Dr. Chen, in all my years of medicine, I have never seen anything like this. You operated in darkness during battle with wounded assistants, and you saved all 3 patients." Sarah looked up from her work, surprised. "That's just what doctors do." "No," Dr. Veltar said softly. "That's what human doctors do. We treat symptoms and injuries. You treat the whole person, body, mind, and spirit." The lights came back on as the ship's main power was restored. Sarah's 3 critical patients were all stable and recovering. Her original hopeless cases, Skydancer, Cogrite, and Stone Scale, were helping other patients despite their own injuries. "I don't understand," Dr. Kexton said. "Our medical training teaches us to be logical, efficient, precise. Your methods seem chaotic and emotional, but they work better than ours. How?" Sarah smiled tiredly as she cleaned her simple surgical tools. "Maybe because healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about giving people a reason to want to be whole again." Captain Torres entered the medical bay with several human medics. "Dr. Chen, we received your emergency beacon. Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Captain, but we have a situation here that's bigger than this battle." Sarah gestured around the medical bay. Alien doctors were now sitting beside patients, talking to them, learning their names. Skydancer was teaching a young alien medic how to hold a patient's hand properly. Cogrite was showing others how simple tools could work, as well as complex machines. "Captain, I think we're starting a revolution in galactic medicine," Sarah said. Dr. Kexton approached them. "Captain Torres, I formally request that Dr. Chen be assigned as our head of medical training. We need to learn human methods." "That's not my decision to make," Captain Torres replied, "but I will send the request to Earth Command." Suddenly, an urgent beeping came from the communications console. A message appeared on the screen that made everyone freeze. "Priority alert. Earth under massive attack. All human vessels return immediately. Casualties estimated in the millions." Sarah's face went pale. Her hands trembled for the first time all day. "My family is on Earth," she whispered. "My children, my husband, they're all there." Captain Torres put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Dr. Chen, we leave in 1 hour. Pack only what you need." But Dr. Kexton stepped forward. "Captain, with respect, Dr. Chen is needed here too. We have thousands of wounded who will only trust human medical methods now." Sarah looked around the medical bay. Alien patients were calling her name, asking for help. Her 3 original patients looked at her with hope and gratitude. Then she looked at the message about Earth, her home, her family under attack. The hardest choice a doctor could face: save the patients in front of her or rush home to save her own family. What would the most human thing be to do?